to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Who Dat Said podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your fellow Who Dat, Kevin Reed, and we finally got the NFL schedule release. We finally know when and where the New Orleans Saints will be playing their contests throughout this upcoming season. We already knew who the opponents were going to be. They announced that right after the season ended, but we didn't know what week, where it was going to take place, what time of the year it was going to take place, what is it going to be a Monday night game? Are we finally going to get a primetime game? We didn't have any last season. Well, all those questions came to an end on Thursday, May the 14th, when the NFL released the schedule, and we're going to go over the schedule week by week. Of course, this isn't a prediction. I'm not going to go through and say, oh yeah, the Saints going to be 13-4. It doesn't make sense. We don't know how this team is going to shape out, how the other teams are going to shape out before we get to training camp, let alone the season, which comes up in about 3-4 months from now. So we got some time to chew on this, but we can speculate. We can have some fun with it, and we're going to do a little of that today. Let me start off by saying I'm doing this show, and I have a massive headache. And so I'm going to try to get through this show without bursting out in tears, because my head feels like it's splitting in two. But I want to talk New Orleans Saints. I'm craving New Orleans Saints football, news, whatever. I need that in my life. And I can feel the headache easing as I'm talking, because that's what the Saints do to me. They can either ease my pain or, in the past few years, contribute to my pain. It's just an odd flip that I'm feeling right now. Yeah, it's easing up as I talk. It's a miracle, people. Praise Jesus. We're going to go over this schedule week by week, break it down the best I can. Let's like I said, we're gonna have some fun. Let's just play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna shoot from the hip and say, oh yeah, the Saints I think they can get them this week. I think they can beat this team this week and whatnot. And I have no earthly idea if that's actually going to take place, but a man can dream, as my father used to say. And so everybody knew that this schedule was going to be highlighted by the big game in Paris, in Paris, France. The Saints will play the first ever. They're making history. The first ever NFL game in France, Paris, nonetheless. And the Saints' opponent, which initially was the Cleveland Browns, they switched it up on us. It's actually going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers that the Saints will be taking on in Paris. And I think that's a very, very good game to have in Paris. Not to say that these are two juggernaut teams per se, but it made more sense. It wasn't a lot of excitement behind Saints playing Cleveland. Even though we do play Cleveland this season, it's just in Paris. This is a big game. This is huge. It's the first. It's the first in Paris. So you want to have a competitive game. I'll put it that way. With two storied franchises, for one reason or another. One for a completely different reason than the other, but they are two storied franchises. The Saints, first and foremost. New Orleans, Louisiana is so linked to Paris, France. Our doggone logo is the fleur-de-lis. Where you think it came from? France. We are so tired. You have French Creole down here, which is basically broken French. Ebonics for French. It's everything is about it. The streets are named in French. It's with French names, I should say. Everything screams France here in New Orleans. So it was only fitting to have the New Orleans Saints play the first game in France, which is a home game. And so I am excited for that front. Then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are it's a legacy team. It's a storied franchise for the Super Bowls, the championships, the Hall of Famers who have walked through that door. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been around for decades, and they're just debuting their fourth coach in team history this season. I am looking forward to that game. Not looking forward to waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to watch it, but I'm going to be all in on this. And so let's start off with week 1 of the 2026 NFL football season with the New Orleans Saints taking their show on the road in the first game. Well, the first 2 games, actually, but our first matchup will take place on September the 13th at 12 noon when the Saints travel to Motor City to Detroit to take on the Lions in week 1. I love this. I love this for one reason only. This is the litmus test. And we come in right out the box against a playoff team, against a team that over the last 2 to 3 years have been Super Bowl caliber. Just can't cross that hump. And what better way to test our might, with Tyler Shuck and all of these new weapons that he has at his disposal, this defense that went through kind of a revamp this offseason with some of these new additions. Let's see how we stack up against a playoff team right off the bat. Win or lose, you can at least test where you at and improve upon this. And this is the game, week 1. And I think that's a perfect start to the season for the New Orleans Saints. Now Detroit has kind of taken a step back it's last season with the exit of Ben Johnson going over to Chicago, with Aaron Glenn going to New York to coach the Jets. They lost a lot of their staff. They lost a lot of players as well. Dan Campbell taking over the play calling in the middle of the season and all this. It was so much going on in that team last season, yet and still they finished above 500. They were 9-8 last season. And I'm not going to count Dan Campbell out. He'll have that team ready to play, especially falling short last season. They're going to come out guns a-blazing at home nonetheless. So it's going to be a tough game. And I am excited that this is the game that we're getting in week 1. In week 2, we stay on the road. This time we're going to travel to Baltimore on September the 20th, 12 noon. The Saints will face the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens it's going to be tough because we always have troubles against Baltimore. I know they're going to kind of fall off with Harbaugh leaving. They got a new coach and everything, but Lamar Jackson is still there. Lamar Jackson has been a Saints killer since he came into the league. I think he's taken out his aggression, the fact that the Saints passed up on him when he was drafted, the year he came out in the draft, I should say. So that one's going to be a little tougher, but hey, anything's possible any given Sunday. Week 3, the New Orleans Saints will finally make their home debut of the season when they open up the dome. 3:25 p.m. They will take on the Las Vegas Raiders on September the 27th. The Raiders, they got the number 1 overall pick, who I would be shocked if he's playing in that week. It most likely would be Kirk Cousins. I don't think they're going to throw Mendoza out there that early. But you also have Clint Kubiak, the new head coach of the Raiders. He returns to the Superdome after a little cup of coffee here in New Orleans when he was the offensive coordinator for Dennis Allen's final year as the head coach. Should be a win on paper right now. I would say that would be a win for the New Orleans Saints, but we'll see. And for the first time in 2 years, the Saints finally get a primetime game on Monday Night Football nonetheless. Week 4 in the Dome. on October the 5th, the New Orleans Saints will host their division rivals, the Atlanta Falcons. And this should be a very, very good game. And this is an important game for a lot of reasons. But the biggest one is this is the Saints' only division game pre-bye. All the rest of their division games are after the bye week. This is the only one they have before we get to week 10, I believe. And so you need to win this game. This is big. This is big for playoff standings, for division wins. This is where it counts. You got to take this one, especially as at home and especially against Atlanta. We can't lose against Atlanta. Come on, people. This will be a slobber knocker, though. I'm looking forward to this. I might even go to that game. I don't know. Doubt it, but like I said, I can dream. We move on to week 5 on October the 11th, 12 noon. Once again, back in the Dome, the Saints will host the Minnesota Vikings. This will be a tough one. We've struggled against Minnesota in the past. I don't need to go over them. But, hey, at least it's at home, the third game in a row in the Dome. So that's also a breath of fresh air. It's good to have 3 straight home games as opposed to last year. I think we were 3 straight road games to open up the season. I could be mistaken, but it felt like it. I'll put it that way. But it's going to be tough. It's tough anytime you take on Minnesota Vikings, but it's going to be equally tough because it's a short week because we had that Monday night game. And so this will also be a big test for the New Orleans Saints. Once again, playing a playoff caliber team. Week 6, the Saints will travel to New York City to take on the Giants on October the 18th, 12 noon. The Giants, that was our first win of the year last year. Kellen Moore's first win as a head coach was against the Giants. That's when we had a turnover fest. I mean, we were getting turnovers like crazy in that game against the Giants, but really the Giants should have beat us. We got lucky in that game. Jackson Dart, he was still wet behind the ears at the time. Scatterbull was I think he was hurt. Didn't he get hurt in that game? It kind of changed the trajectory of that game. And so it was a lot that went the Saints' way, but it's still going to be a little tough. Let's not forget Harbaugh. We thought we dodged the bullet not having to play against his team in week 2 with Baltimore, but we're going to have to wait till week 6 to play his new team in the Giants. So we'll see how this turns out before we head overseas. Speaking of which, week 7, the highlight game of the NFL season, I think of all the NFL season, but especially for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints on October the 25th will travel to Paris, France to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game will be at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. Now, all the times that I'm saying is standard time, New Orleans time, in case you're listening outside of Louisiana. It's going to be, that's going to be tough. And especially for me, because I go to church in the morning, early on Sunday mornings. 9 o'clock is when my church service starts. And so this is going to be this is going to be a tough game for me. I'll see how this go. I ain't going to sit here and say, yeah, I ain't going to church that Sunday. I don't want to do that. But probably, well, maybe. That's probably what's going to end up happening. But that's neither here nor there. This is going to be a good game, though. Steelers are good. The Steelers are always good. Even when the Steelers are bad, they're good. I'm not going to look over them because they got a new coach and you don't know what Aaron Rodgers you're going to get if you get Aaron Rodgers, because we don't know. The Steelers don't know because he's Aaron Rodgers if he's going to return as the quarterback. So it is a lot there. They still have TJ Watt. So that's a problem. So even if Aaron Rodgers ain't there, TJ Watt is. So we have that to contend with. But this should be a really, really good game. Excited that the Saints will be showcased in this light. And so after that, of course, we're going to get our bye week in week 8. Makes sense. That's a long trip. You know, you don't want to come all the way back from Paris and try to prepare for next week, next Sunday against whoever. So this was a perfect time. It is right in the middle of the season. Perfect bye week, week 8. Week 9, the Saints will play the team that they were supposed to, originally scheduled to play in Paris. It is the Cleveland Browns in the Superdome, November the 8th, 12 noon. This should be a Saints win. No disrespect to Cleveland, but Cleveland don't know what they are. And we don't even know what quarterback. Is it going to be Shedeur Sanders? I still hear rumors that Deshaun Watson. I mean, they're paying him. They might as well start him. Who knows? Who knows? But they got a new coach, a new system. We'll see what plays out there with the Cleveland game. But like I said, we don't know who the quarterback going to be. We don't know how this coach is going to coach this team. We'll find out on November the 8th. We go to week 10, and this is our second division game of the season when the Saints host the Carolina Panthers on November the 15th, 12 noon in the Dome. Carolina looked like they turned the corner last season. They won the division. They're the division champs. All respect to them. But come on, man. It's NFC South. That wasn't a hard task. I could have found 12 people, 12 friends of mine, and put them in uniforms and helmets, and we probably could have won the division last season. The NFC South was horrible. And so as much as I give them respect. They won the division. This was a trash division. Trash. It came down to the 2 worst teams in the division. Whoever won that game dictated the other team winning the division. That's how bad it was. But in any event, this is going to be a good one here. This one, another one. Division game, need to take this one. Need to win this one, especially since they're the champs. You know, they're the defending champs of the division. We need to knock them off, and especially got to take care of home. So we move over to week 11. The Saints will travel to Chicago on November the 22nd, 12 noon to face the Bears. I don't understand why we keep traveling to Chicago. Why we got to keep going to Chicago? Look, I don't mind playing Chicago. You know, this second year in a row we had to play them. Second year in a row we had to go there. But why we got to keep going? Why we got to be the visiting team every time? Bring them to the Dome. Now, this is going to be probably the hardest game for the New Orleans Saints next season. You look at the schedule, you're like, nah, it can't be. No, Chicago is a good team. Playoff team, almost made it to the bowl. They are very, very good all over the field. Defensive-wise, you know, Dennis Allen, you saw what he did to us last season. Of course, he was highly motivated, understandably so. But he came to play. He brought the hammer of Thor against the New Orleans Saints when we played last season. But that was against players that he knew, that he coached, that he drafted, that he'd been in the locker room for years. So he knew them players. Saints kind of throwing the curveball this season with some new players, fresh faces. The system looks like everybody is kind of getting acclimated with it. So it's going to be a different feel for Dennis Allen, thank God. But let's see how it all plays out. But the one thing that concerns me the most, this is late November in Chicago. It's going to be cold. And now whether it's snowing or not, we'll see. But it's definitely going to be cold, definitely going to be windy. It's not going to be a favorable condition game for the New Orleans Saints. But we'll see. We'll see. But if you want to take that next step as an organization, as a team, these are the games you're going to have to go out there and show up and put the league on notice. Like, look, we're not just here for your entertainment. We're here to win ball games. So big test for the Saints. Probably their hardest game of the season will be Week 11 in Chicago, in my humble opinion. Week 12, not to be outdone, the Saints will have to travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals November the 29th, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, 12 noon. This game, once again, it's going to be frigid in Cincinnati, late, very end of November. This is going to be a tough one as well. The only thing I would say, Cincinnati has not lived up to the hype the last couple of years. I know they've been injury ridden. Joe Burrow and their offensive line isn't up to snuff. They've lost Trey Henderson. All of their money is dumped with Burrow and Chase and Higgins. So they haven't had money to pay for an offensive line and all this here. So it's a lot that they've been dealing with, but they still put up fights. They're still a good team. Joe Burrow is still a quality quarterback, one of the best in the league. So this will be a test as well for the New Orleans Saints in Week 12. We return back to the Dome in Week 13 to face another playoff team in the Green Bay Packers on December the 6th, 12 noon in the Dome. Always a tough game. Matt LaFleur. You have Jordan Love at quarterback. It's going to be tough. Another hard-fought game. This one is probably going to be a one-possession game. It can swing either way for these two teams. It really is determined on that Chicago game. If the Saints are competitive in that Chicago game, they can be competitive in this game. If they get mollywopped by Chicago, most likely they'll be mollywopped by the Packers. So we'll see. This one is TBD. We'll see how that plays out in Week 13. Week 14, we get our second matchup against the Carolina Panthers, this time in Carolina on December the 13th. Now, Carolina, I know you think about, it's in the South. Carolina gets cold in November. I mean, November and December, but we're playing them in December. And another cold weather game, division matchup. We just played them a few weeks ago. Hopefully we demolished them in the Dome. They're probably going to be mad. And we're getting close to the end of the season at this point. So, those division games are going to be tougher and tougher. And so this will be a coin flip for the rest of the season, for the rest of these division games. It's definitely going to be a coin flip. So this is we're 5 weeks away from the end of the season, and we still have 4 division games to play. And so 4 out of our last 5 games are division games. Lord have mercy. I see that we had like the second as far as strength of schedule, we had the second weakest. I don't see it. I don't think it's difficult. I don't think it's hard, but it's not the second weakest. The way it's scheduled, it's not so much the teams, it's the way it's scheduled. Especially with this last run for the next 5 weeks. And so we move over to Week 15. We have our first matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on December the 20th in Tampa Bay, and we will face them for the first time of the season. This will probably be the toughest division game that we play this season, because I would imagine it's going to come down to the Saints and Tampa as far as the division. That's my early prediction. Now, this is probably going to change once we get to the end of July and beginning of August, once training camp and all that starts. But right now, in the month of May, I think it's going to be between Tampa and the Saints for the NFC South. And so this game in Week 15 is going to be paramount for the Saints as far as moving forward as a division champ and potentially a playoff contender. Week 16, the Saints play the Arizona Cardinals in the Dome, December the 27th, 2 days after Christmas. Hopefully, Santa will still be sticking around and give us a win here to defeat the not Carolina, but the the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are trying to find themselves right now. Now, it's week 16. Maybe they have figured it out by then, but as it stands right now, they're discombobulated as all get out. And so we get to week 17, and we open up 2027 against the Atlanta Falcons on January the 3rd in Atlanta, 12 noon. Like I said, it's been about 2 months at this point since we played the Atlanta Falcons. A lot has happened, I would imagine. Things probably bounced one team's way and the other team went this direction, or their conversion. I'm pretty sure Atlanta is going to be kind of poking their nose around the division as well. Big game. Depending on what happened in that Monday night game in week 4, this could be paramount as well, determining the division. Well, it will be paramount because you can't afford to lose any at this point. Once we get into December, we really got to just run it. There's really no room for error for the New Orleans Saints, depending on how the records fall and who they beat and who they have a tiebreaker over. So once we get to December, it's Saints got to have their foot on the gas. And so Atlanta, week 17 in Atlanta, first game of 2027, should be interesting. So we move to our final game of the NFL football season 2026-2027. The Saints will close out this season against Tampa in the Dome. There's no date for it because you know how it goes in week 18. They can flex it, flip it. It can turn into a Monday night game. It can turn into a Sunday night game. It can turn into a Thursday. It doesn't matter. It could turn into Saturday. It's going to be the game. It's going to come down to this game. Unless a miracle happens and the Saints wrap up the division in week 14, I think it's going to come down to this. And it's going to have to because of the way the schedule works. Saints play no division games until they get into December, other than one. Well, two. The rest of them are all in December. So there is zero room for error. And like I stated before, I believe in my heart that the division will come down to these two teams. And how fitting is it that the last game of the season will be against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? The great thing about this, it's in the Caesars Superdome. And that we gonna need it. At least we're not on the road. We're at home. We can use the crowd. We're coming loud and proud, especially depending on what day and what time the game kicks off, whether it's 12 noon or 3 o'clock or Monday night or something of that matter. It's going to be the biggest game of the year. And so I am excited for this football season. This looks like a good schedule, favorable, but not by much. I'm not looking at this schedule. Nothing screams double-digit record next season. I can see a 9-8. I can possibly see a 10-7, possibly. But it's late. It's late May. Anything can change, and we know that the tide turns quick here in New Orleans. Injuries, knock on wood, pops up. Injuries on other teams pop up. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So, nonetheless, I am happy that we at least got this schedule. We got something to look forward to. We got something to plan around when it comes to September. When we get to September, we know exactly how we are going to roll. But what are you excited? Which game are you excited for? Do you like this schedule? Do you think the Saints can win the division this year, or are you just playing it cool until we actually get into some actual football action? And I'm not mad at you if that's what it is. Honestly, I've been trying. God knows I've been trying. I've been trying to temper my expectations. I've been trying to lay back and not really focus on it until we get to the foot. But I'm so it's just something I feel something about this season, good or bad. I'm not saying, oh man, I think the Saints can run to the Super Bowl, because I had a feeling in 2009. I had that feeling, but it didn't really hit till the preseason. I just knew the Saints were going. I just felt it. And I remember the game too. It was a preseason game, Saints versus the Raiders, I believe. And they came out, the starters played in the first drive, and Drew Brees went down that field just surgical. And they had a aura about themselves. It was a vibe about themselves. They just went down and scored. And Drew Brees walked off the field and he just waved. It was like it was it was the weirdest thing. And at that moment, I said, we got this. We going to the Super Bowl. I just knew it. And then when we started off 12-0, I was like, yep. Yep. We got this. And I just felt it. I don't have that feeling, but I do have a feeling that something special will happen this season, whether it's turning the corner and being a quality playoff team, a competitive team in this league, putting the league on notice that they seem to have forgotten about the New Orleans Saints ever since Sean Payton has left, right? Which I understand, and the Saints didn't do any favors by playing like hot garbage the last few years, but everybody forgot about the Saints. But it's now time to jog their memory. You can email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Who That Say podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as we go over the 2026-27 New Orleans Saints schedule. Man, I'm excited. If you're not excited, it's cool. I'm excited for all of us. There's enough excitement in here for all of us. Oh man. Well, that's it unless something catastrophic happens between now and August. This would probably be it for the Who That Say podcast until training camp begins. But I just want to say thank you all for supporting the show. Thank you all for continuing to listen to the Who That Say podcast. It's been a joy. It's been a joy. Even when I got frustrated with the Saints and I wanted to quit, y'all lift me up and make it all worth the while. And I can't wait for this upcoming season. Until then, I'm going to be screaming to the top of my lungs. And here's a status update. The headache's gone. The headache is gone, people. It'll probably come back once I stop recording, but as far as now, the headache is gone. Talking about the Saints, you see, they're the magic spell that I needed to get through. Because I was hoping, wishing, and praying it stopped before I went to bed, go to sleep, because I wouldn't have been able to go to sleep because of my head. But anyways, until we speak again at the start of training camp, I'm going to be screaming to the top of my lungs, who that?